Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life Unfiltered. How's Phoenix?
I'm good. How are you, Carl?
I'm doing a lot better getting over this crappy old flu that's hitting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of my hosts and podcasters have had it, and it's hard to get rid of. Tammy finally got over it, and then I got it. Now I'm just about over it, not quite, but it's just continuing on. It's weather changes, is what it is.
Right.
From warm
Yeah.
one day to freezing ass cold the next day.
Yeah, it's been terrible for that. My family had, whatever the virus was, we had it for about 2 weeks. The problem is we have so many people in the family that we just kept passing it around to each other.
Round and
And I
around.
finally said, enough of this. So I went and bought a bunch of zinc and vitamin C and bunch of stuff. And I was like, okay, we're going to start cramming this stuff in all of us. And
Right.
finally, after about 2 weeks, we were all through it, but it was rough.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And everything. I thought I had it pretty good. Tammy had it for a week and a half. And I was like, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. Then I woke up one morning and went, oh crap. I
Hmm.
got it.
Yep. I was one of the last to get it. Um, Carl, do you want to go ahead and introduce our guest and get her up?
Yeah. Right. Anyway, folks, we're continuing on from the last time we had a show here, part two with Carrie. So she's coming back on, and we're going to have a great conversation tonight. So let's bring Carrie up. Hello,
Hi, Carrie.
Carrie.
Hi,
How are you?
hello. I'm good today.
You're
Good.
good
Where the
down
heck?
there in warm weather, I hope.
Actually, it was beautiful out today. It's been really warm. Yeah, it was like high 81, low of 66. I'm like, yeah, I can deal with that.
It
Carl,
didn't
I'm
even
taking
get
her out.
66.
Hey, Bill.
Huh?
I'm taking Carrie out of the show. I'm done.
I know. Her low wasn't even our high. So that's pretty
Yeah,
bad.
but then when we get into our highs, we'll be wishing we're up there where your lows are because it gets really
Yeah.
hot here.
Well,
Well,
it
Yeah.
gets,
I'm used to the Texas heat, though. I prefer that over winter. If I have to choose between heat and no, I will take the summers any day.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
in
don't do cold
Wisconsin,
very good.
I'm from Wisconsin and it's cold up there. And you
Yeah.
Oh
don't see
yeah,
the sun for 9 months and it's like and everybody's like, "Oh, it's okay. We like the seasons." There ain't no seasons. I'm sorry. It's cold. It's cold and then
mhm,
it has a couple days of like hot and then you're back to cold again and you
Right.
don't
yeah,
see the sun or anything. I'm like, at least here I can call my midsummer like my winter almost. I can go in the house, the air conditioner's on instead of the heater, and I can still go
right.
out in the morning and the evening. And I have stayed out in the heat and worked all day forgetting that it was hot, and then that's not good either.
Mhm,
Oh, I
right.
know. We have
Yeah,
it
I
Well,
get
here
busy
in
and yeah.
we have it here in Missouri the same way. We're ending winter right now. Before long, we'll be into spring, and then summer. And our summer gets hot in July and August. That's
mhm,
when we see the high 90s, the low hundreds, mid hundreds, and stuff up here. So yeah,
right. Yeah, same
Yeah,
here.
where I'm kind of in South Texas, so it gets real hot and it
Mhm,
stays hot. Like there was a like one of the first summers I spent here because I went to Florida first and then I came here, and it was so hot. It was miserable. It was over 100 degrees for 3 months straight, no break, no rain, and I thought, what have I done? I can
mhm.
handle
thought you moved
it.
into
Was
hell, didn't you?
yeah, yeah. There was this joke, and if you look it up on Facebook, it's called "fried cat joke" because the cat got stuck in the car. Anyway, that's not for eating tats. Sorry,
Right.
but that joke came across my Facebook page. I laughed so hard. It was so funny. But yeah, she was like, even cactus don't grow here. So my rock garden, you know. It's a
That's
funny,
funny.
funny kind
And
of hot.
Carrie,
But yeah, you
I was born in North Dakota, um, and I've seen pictures. I have no memories because I was still barely toddling when we moved from North Dakota to Texas. And we didn't move from Texas till my early teen years. So I grew up in the Houston and Galveston area.
yeah,
Um, in fact, my father and his family, they live in League City and Texas City. And then my half brother lives in Galveston. He's a police officer in Galveston as well. So that's where I grew up, and I remember in wintertime looking way up in the sky and I would, oh, it's snowing. And I took ballet, tap, and gymnastics. And so here I'm 10 years old in my pink tutu and leotards. And, I'm outside in the winter, and I was comfortable, and I'm looking up, look, it's going to snow. And it didn't. By the time it got down our level, it was just like a little water drop here and there. So,
Mhm.
but you could
we
see where
actually
it
had
did look
snow
like
this year.
flurries. Huh?
We actually had snow this year. We had snow on the ground, so it was interesting.
That's
I'm like,
crazy
nice,
to me.
whatever. I don't care. I lived in Wisconsin for so many years. I don't care if I ever see snow. I really don't. Doesn't impress me at all. And
I
if you
know
want to
your
talk about
feeling.
snow, it's
The only
way
time I
up
like,
there in Wisconsin, driving in tunnels like
right,
crazy.
the only time I like snow is the opening of deer season. And when I get my
Yeah.
deer, that'd be the end of the snow. I'll be happy and fine and, everything's good to go. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of cold weather.
Bill, I had not heard that New York was doing that yet. Carrie, can you see comments? You can see comments, can't you?
I'm going
Mm-mm.
to put it
I
up on
can't
the
see the
screen.
comments.
Now she
Okay.
should see it.
Oh, there we now I can see it. Hey, hi, Bill.
Yeah, he
Bill
says
looks
New
an
York
awful
is
lot
going
like
after Amish and
an
homeschool
actor.
kids for vaccines.
Yeah, I haven't heard
Well,
that
let's
one.
talk. Yeah. Did you hear about the? Okay, so supposedly we have a deadly, get that scary word out there, deadly measles outbreak
Hmm.
in Texas. So
Yeah.
they're pushing that MMR shot, not just the M shot, but the MMR shot has to go out, right? So they're saying they were blaming it on the not the Amish, but the Mennonite community, who is mostly not vaccinated, and they're the reasons why the outbreak is here.
Wow.
What?
They're
Like
full
you
of it.
caught that on the TV, and I was like, they are crazy. And then I'm like thinking, well, are you going around peeking in the windows of that Mennonite's house? Because I don't think they're rushing off to the doctor because their kids got spots on them, you know. So, and they didn't vaccinate, so that they're the cause, right? So, and I'm like, I don't think so. I think you're
No,
full of it.
because our area where
Yeah,
I live at, I have Amish and Mennonites all around here. Big communities
they
of
don't
them.
go to the doctor.
There's no
They
measles
don't rush.
outbreaks in them.
Right. Right. But supposedly there's a measles outbreak. And even if there was one death, they said. And then the reporter was asking, is there any comorbidities? And they said, well, we can't answer that question. That's a very important question. If somebody is really sickly and they got the measles, it's like everybody died of COVID, right? Even if you got in a car crash, you died of COVID. So maybe it was a
Right.
Right.
kid that had spots on it, was ready to die from, 20 other things. Maybe it's just got through chemo or whatever. They didn't say anything. They said they couldn't divulge that. Right. Yeah. So it's a
Right.
deadly measles outbreak. And there's one person well, I think now there's two maybe that died. But
Well, did they
these people
did
have
they ever
comorbidities.
stop
They're
to
very
think we had all these illegals come through Texas? Couldn't one of them brought
Mhm.
the measles virus up? That would
Did
make
we
Right.
more
even
sense.
Did you have the measles, Carl? I had the measles when I was a kid.
Yes.
We had like chicken pox and measles parties. We weren't that
The
sick.
only
It's
thing I
not.
didn't get that my older brother and sister got was the mumps. They got them.
Yeah, the
I
mumps.
didn't get them.
I got the mumps. I think I remember it thinking I had it. It was you get that big lump on your neck.
Yeah, you
I
get the
know my
big
brother
lump.
did for sure, but I
Yeah,
don't remember if I
but
caught it from him or not. But
chicken
he had it.
pox, measles, all that stuff. We all caught that when we were little.
Hmm.
You know,
I
we
had
made it
And
chicken
through it.
then,
pox,
You
but I
it.
never had
yeah,
measles or mumps. And I was so little when I had chicken pox, I don't even remember having it. My mom said I
yeah.
barely broke out. She said I was like 2 or 3 when I had chicken pox.
Oh yeah,
But
that's bad because all you want to do is itch them.
mhm.
And if
Yeah,
you're a little kid, your
I
moms used to
remember
put
that part.
socks. Moms used to put socks on your hands so you wouldn't itch
She
them.
did.
You'd
That's
rub
what
them.
she said.
Stick
Yep.
you
Yep.
in
She
the
said she
bath,
put socks.
stick you
Hmm.
in the bathtub with oatmeal, like
Yep.
that did. I don't know if it
That
did or
yeah.
Yeah.
not.
What was that going to do?
The
You
theory
know.
behind it was that the oatmeal was going to dry out the chicken pox
Yeah,
sores.
I know, but
You're
it
right.
didn't help.
It didn't help.
My daughter got it so bad. I didn't know when she got. I was like, why does she have it so bad? She had it inside of her mouth. She had it
Yeah.
every part of her
Mhm.
body was covered. She had it super bad. Her brother didn't have it hardly at all. He had a couple spots. And they when I took her to the doctor because she had all those autoimmune, she had asthma and allergies because I think from the shots that she got as a child. And so she had just come off a round of steroids for her asthma when she contracted it. And when I took her to the doctor, I said she's having problems. They said, well, we can't give her steroids because she has the chickenpox. I said, well, nobody said anything before. She had the chickenpox. She still had, the steroids don't just come right out of your system anyway.
Mhm.
So that's why she had them so severely, was because of the steroids. The steroids also lower your immune system as
Right.
well. So
My
she had a double.
27, sorry about that. My
Uh,
27-year-old son, um, he's, hold on, number 4. Taylor, Brianna, Emily, Tristan. Yes, he's number 4.
Yeah. You got
I have
numbers.
to go in
Did,
order, oldest to
was
youngest.
you smart enough to
But
tattoo them on them so you'd know their names, number? This
if
is number
somebody asks me
7.
their name and I don't
just
go
tell
oldest to youngest, I mess it up. I'll give you a name twice or something, or I'll miss a kid. Well, wait a minute, which ones did I name? Who am I missing? It's terrible. I have to go in order. But no, so my point was up to him, number 4. I had no issues with vaccines, never questioned them, never heard there was a reason to question them. Um, very naive, with all that. And I took him to get his shots, and he was about 1, so it's his 1-year shot. And they asked me if I wanted to give him the chicken pox because it's mandatory now, but back then it was not. But I knew several kids who had chicken pox where we lived, so I said, no, go ahead and give it to them because it's going around, we're right where we're at. Well, he broke out, but I never knew he broke out because it was internally. I never saw anything on the outside. And so we're sitting at church one Wednesday night, and I'm in the sanctuary, and we hear the back side door open up, and a lady comes running out with Tristan, and she's just panicking. So, of course, the whole sanctuary's like, what? And here's my son, and he's got blood running out of his eyes and his nose, and just, I mean, his whole
oh,
face is covered in blood. So I jump up. We're right in the middle of sanctuary. I'm like, did he fall and hit his head? Like his face, or because I'm also thinking, is there brain fluid in this? Did he hit bad enough to have done that kind of damage? What is this going on? And hi, Ruth. Bill, I'll get to that in just a second. Um, but she's like, no, I don't know. She said, I just looked over and this blood was just coming. And so we rushed into the hospital. They came out and told me it was chicken pox and that the reason that was
Thyroid.
happening is because it was itching him so bad that he kept digging at his eyes and putting fingers in his nose to try to scratch, and they were getting infected. The sores were busting and getting infected. And so they said the bad thing is the infection's all in the tubes. And they're like, all the tubes are connected to the brain. If we don't get this stopped right where it's at, they're like, your son could die. And so
This
they
is
kept,
after he had the chicken pox shot.
mhm. Yeah, he broke out from the
Oh my.
vaccine. And so when I have doctors telling me if we don't stop this infection and it gets up to the brain, they're like, once it's in the brain, there's nothing we can do. We've got to go in and start cleaning this out. They didn't even put him on just meds. They were like, no, we got to go in and start getting this out. And so then when they sent us home, we had to go another month that every single thing he touched, I had to go through and sanitize it and everything. Like it was horrible to go through. And to be as young as I was and hearing that my kid could potentially die from infection from something that I was given a choice of, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking they're safe. And to go through that, that's where my journey with vaccines started. And where I started looking into it. Like I said, he's 27 now and he's doing fine, but that's what started me on my journey. And my two little ones, they have a religious exemption. And I saw Bill said they took that away in New York, that there's no longer a religious exemption. And I don't know how they can do that constitutionally.
They
I
can't.
got a question for Bill. I got a question for you, Bill. They took it away for what? For attending school or daycare? What did they take it
Or for
away for?
medicine or
Or
shots or
anything.
what?
Yeah. What was the purpose
That-
for taking it away? I can't see the comments, so
I'll tell you when he
You can't
answers.
see the comments?
where are they supposed to be?
To the
Okay. Look
side.
over on your
Let me click
right
on it.
side
Ah,
at the
it was
at
on private chat.
okay.
Okay.
Got it. It's right here.
There you go.
Okay. They took it away for COVID. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I got that. So, but that was for the purpose of going to school, correct? Because they didn't have a job. I'm assuming. I'm assuming it was for the kids for school.
Yeah. Probably daycare and all that. School, daycare,
Yeah.
anything
Well,
like
Probably
because
that.
like
sports,
when I lived
school.
in Florida, my kids they were I had to claim the religious
Delta,
exemption
right.
because I didn't want to give them any more shots, right?
Mhm.
But what they did was they sent you to the health department where they had somebody that was trained to badger you. So the school actually didn't have a rule that you had to have immunizations to go to school. You could go to school, but you had to have this piece of paper from the health department.
Right.
So you'd go to the health department and then they would sit you down. They'd have trained person to, and so thank God I had a really good friend who was a midwife and she told me exactly what to do. She said, just tell them this is it. And because she said once you have religious exemption, then you don't have to have any more discussion with them. She said don't
Right.
engage with them because they're going to keep on keeping on and keeping on, and they'll always come up with something. Just tell them, just stay staunch on it and give it to them. So they can't. It's just like people said they had to take the COVID shot. No, they had a choice. They may not have liked their choice, and the choices were really bad for a lot of people that have a lot of money invested in their income and their family, and would lose their job, maybe lose their house, maybe lose a lot of things, but they still had a choice to take the shot or not. So I know that one person that I know that was an RN, has a career, and she called and asked, "What do I do?" I said, "Don't take it and don't quit. Let them fire you or whatever they're going to do." So she didn't, and a lot of those nurses got called back, and she did too, and she never was without
Mhm.
a job. So but the whole thing started back when I was working at the hospital. We both worked at the hospital, and she did take the flu shot. and they they wanted me to take the flu shot or wear a mask, and I refused the flu shot. And so many of the nurses, none of the nurses wanted to take the flu shot. So that tells you something right there. And but they did because they, again, they had a lot of money invested in their careers. They were probably paying off their student loans still, and they had, so and they compromised and took the shot. And so that's what happened. That was like a precursor to the COVID thing. And that was years before they did the COVID thing. But they already knew that the nurses would cave. And so they just, they had their statistics already ready. So, and so even the kids at school, I mean, there is an option to take them out and homeschool them. There's an option to, just stand your ground. And I mean, that's just the way it is. God never told us to give our kids over to Caesar anyway. So,
Right.
that's a good thing anyway. I think people started seeing what was going on in the schools because of it. So that was a good thing that came out of it. So God can work things that are meant for evil for good. And I think that, he's opening a lot of eyes with that. So let's see I don't know.
Yeah, and then you asked about the national debt clock as well. But yeah, my kids, Kentucky right now still allows for religious exemption. However, it expires every, 1 year from the date you sign it.
Right.
So you have to renew it every year. Now, when I was in Oklahoma with my kids, and they had medical and religious. I did religious, and then they had medical as well from the doctor, because after that happened with Tristan, the doctor said, even though your other kids didn't have a reaction, we don't know because he did. So they said it would be medically unethical for any of them to ever be vaccinated. So they had that. Kentucky will not honor that from Oklahoma, though, especially this many years later. They just act like I'm crazy here. So here I only do the religious, but the medical does not have to be renewed, from what I understand it in Kentucky. Only the religious exemption. So I figure the reason for that is so that they can maybe change that at any point, and it's easier to just say, "Oh, well, we're just not going to renew it," for whatever reason.
Right.
And that's
he was mentioning. Go ahead. Sorry. He was saying something about, no medical privacy. You're right. HIPAA went out the window, didn't it?
Yeah.
They have to ask you to get the shot. That's medical. That's private information. So, again, they don't follow their own rules.
Right.
So.
Yeah. What Toyota did with their employees is, if you were vaccinated, you wore a lanyard that had a little sticker thing on it, so that people knew that you were allowed to not wear a mask. If you didn't have the lanyard with that sticker, you had to wear the mask. And I was like, how's that legal? I mean, that's just another backdoor way of violating HIPAA, because all you have to do is see the mask or the lanyard, and you know who's been vaccinated or not.
Right.
That's not public's
that's not public knowledge.
information. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they further want to divide us no matter what. Whatever it is, they're always trying to divide us. So they divide us between the vaccinated and unvaccinated, color, race, whatever they can divide us, religion, politics, they want to keep us divided for sure. And that's, and they had an agenda, obviously, with COVID. It wasn't, there was a lot to that. We could go into that for days, probably.
So to answer your other question, Bill, yes, the national debt clock is over 36 trillion, and that comes out to be about $106,120 for every single person in America. And what I heard is that includes, like, even the infants. That they're not talking, when they say every person, it's not adults, it's all the way down to the infants.
Right.
It's every person in America.
Yep.
That's
And
ridiculous.
it's going to grow a little bit until we get things completely under control.
Look at the bottom right. Okay.
Bottom right.
I'm pulling it back
Bottom
up.
right of what? Oh, the national debt.
Are you talking about at the bottom of that chart where it says wealth per citizen, or do I need to keep scrolling down? All the way
All
to
the
the
way
right.
to the right.
As far right as I can go on here.
Yes. What do you say?
Gold and precious metals, and that's all the way at the far right. Oh, okay. Yeah, wealth per citizen is 493,428.
Well,
Mhm.
I don't know what you're looking at. I can't see it.
The US debt clock. It's on usdebtclock.org.
What's the wealth per person? What's that mean?
Well, they say we have like an account for that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
tied to our
okay. I
social
know what
security
that's what I
number.
thought you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, that. Mhm.
Here, hold on. How do I screen share
trying-
this? I have
Down at the
two.
bottom, go to present
Okay.
and hit share screen, and then find what you got on your computer where it's at. You got 3 tabs at the top, so it'll be on one of them.
Okay. I'm not on
Well,
Microsoft.
now I know how to do it. Thanks.
Oh, I know StreamYard.
I'm not
so,
sharing
yeah.
anything, but
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that's where you do it.
My options are Microsoft Edge tab. I have StreamYard on Microsoft Edge, and for window beside it, I'm on a different search site for that. I'm on Google for that because it was shutting StreamYard
Okay,
down.
do you have one per entire?
Entire screen. Oh, right there. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So then just hit share.
Yeah. And then I'll see it at the bottom and see if it's right, and then I'll bring it up.
All right. I'm hitting share and it's doing nothing.
So it goes to you first, Carl, and then you put it up.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
A lot of
Just
times.
wanted it for future.
Unless we talk about it ahead of time and I know what's coming up, and then we can put it up.
Right.
It's easy to do.
Gotcha.
Why is it not sharing?
I have no idea.
Okay. Let me try this again.
Okay.
Sorry, guys. I am
That's
not.
all right. Hey,
We're learning here. We're
learning
learning
curve. It's educational
purposes
show
right now for
night.
anybody.
It's educational
If
show
you got
night.
StreamYard, this is how you do it.
Right.
Okay. Now, entire screen. Share. I don't
Oh my God.
know. I'm clicking share. It's lit up in blue, but it's doing nothing. Like I can see it. It looks pretty cool from here, but you know.
It don't look like nothing down at the bottom down here.
I don't understand what's going on.
Carl, you
I
better
don't
start
either.
singing or something. Fill in the blank here.
What is the website?
U.S. National Debt Clock. Here, let me try this.
U.S. National.
Well,
You can send him a
that's
link.
my bedroom. Hold on.
Uh-oh. She did something and I
Was that
can't
side
see
of the
because I'm
room
doing
clean?
this.
I'm trying to stretch the
Well, man,
cord.
well, that
Okay,
is
so
interesting, but I don't think we can read it.
this.
Let's see. Yes, I'm a U.S. citizen.
So here's where it's showing the wealth per citizen.
Come on.
Right here.
I'm
I'll
going to
take
put,
that in the
okay,
chat,
I've got
please.
it. I've got it.
Okay. Phew. Golly. Okay. That was interesting.
You're talking about this.
Look.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
there it is.
Okay. Now, where was those places you was talking about here? Let's scroll all the way to the bottom. Okay, down at the bottom on the far right, where it says
Yeah.
wealth per citizen,
Right.
$493,428.
Now scroll back up to the top of it.
Okay.
Okay. Do you see that the right there U.S. national debt to the left,
Yeah.
and that's
It's
counting
still going
down.
up, ain't it?
And then right beside the U.S. national debt is debt per citizen.
Debt per citizen
Yes, it hundred.
is
I said
down at the
120.
bottom. Okay. Let's see.
Yeah,
Debt
right
per
there next to
citizen.
U.S. national debt in that
Percent.
block.
Okay, there you
Check. I'm looking debt per citizen. Ooh, do, 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 do. Debt per, I see revenue per citizen.
Now, Carl, you see where it says U.S. national debt and the numbers are scrolling?
Yeah.
The number right beside it to the right
Oh,
is
debt.
debt per
Okay. Yeah. That debt per citizen is
person. Yes.
107,403. But that's per citizen. Now you go down to the bottom and everything. And let's see. The hidden wealth and then wealth per citizen. I don't know how they come up at wealth per citizen. None of us got $493,428 in our bank account right now.
That's a whole rabbit hole there.
That is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gone down that rabbit hole.
Have you?
But I do like how they got the DOGE clock going there, how much they found in fraud.
Well, did Trump put the 20% on there yet?
Not
He
yet.
said
They
he was going to
haven't
put
reached
20%
it yet.
on there and give some to us. Yeah, I don't know.
As soon as they
He's
hit
not done
what is
Doge.
it, two trillion, I think is what he said. When they hit the 2 trillion, then they get to 20%.
All right. I'm on the Department of Government Efficiency.
Said, yeah, I said go to Doge.
Mhm.
Yeah, it don't count. The 20% don't count yet. But
I can actually see the comments. No, that's pretty nice.
oh, that's all
Anyway,
right.
yeah, I
But
knew. I
it
was just joking because he said he was going to put 20% towards the debt and then he was going to give us 20%. And I'm like, well, when I did math in school, that added up to 40%. I want to know where the other 60% is going.
it better
Got
go
any
to pay
ideas on
off
that
the
one?
debt. I think it's going to pay off
No,
the
no,
debt.
no. He said 20% was going towards the debt and 20% was going to us.
Oh,
There's still 60% unaccounted for, is my understanding,
yeah.
is what he said.
Hmm.
So that I don't know
That'd
where
be
that's
interesting to
going.
find out. But it is hilarious of what he is finding out and
Oh
everything. It's
yeah.
making everybody run scared for all this
Doge.
stuff.
Good.
Okay. So, Carl,
Close him
hit
down.
that.
Don't come over. Get rid of them
Can you
all.
bring that screen back up?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Carl is
So
right. 80% the debt. Oh, okay.
that same block where the U.S. national debt is,
Yeah,
look down where you see that little emblem and it says Doge clock.
yeah, right there.
That's, yeah, Bill, that's what you're talking about when you say go to the Doge section.
That's how much he's found so far. That's what that is.
Woohoo!
That's how
I
much
wonder if I
fraud
can
he has
find that at the
found.
bottom of my change jar.
Mhm.
Well, that money, has been laundered through the government for so long. They just use it as a money laundering situation and it goes back into the
Oh,
pockets of
yeah,
people. So that's why people are that. Yeah.
we know that. I still want to know this person that's 360 years old that's getting Social Security and when they started
That would be
getting it.
Nancy Pelosi.
And
That
then
would
I
be
want to
Nancy
see the
Pelosi.
bank
And
account
the
and who has
350, that
access
one's the
to
judge
that bank
somewhere, I
account.
think.
Because I liked it the way Trump said it. 360
That's
years
just
old.
speculation.
That's
I'm not sure
100
if
years
he's
before our country was
360, but I'm
founded.
pretty sure.
Mhm.
So, and then of course the Democrats
Well,
were all sitting there
there's
saying, "Oh, that's
immigration.
fake. That's fake." And I'm going, "No, it's not."
Mhm.
Do you have the
Uh,
video?
But yeah, it's still
You
amazing
should pull up
some
that
of the
video of
stories
Nancy
you
Pelosi
hear
sitting there with her
where
little
our
stick
government was
and
giving
she's
so and
doing
so
some kind of
money and
weird, I don't know
all
what's going on
this.
with her.
Oh,
But
Pelosi, man, the other night on there, she was really wanting to drink real bad. We'll put it that way. The way when the camera went over to her and she's sitting there, we're like, you better get her a martini real quick.
yeah, she looked rough.
maybe that's what was in the end of that cane or something. Somebody said there was some kind of markings on that cane, but I didn't look.
I
Probably
agree.
was. The markings that were on there was probably
Bill
the
doesn't want
days
to
she didn't drink.
die and vote Democrat.
Mm.
I don't
Then he
either.
then he won't hear
Talk
it
about.
all until I turn on my paranormal stuff, and then I'll tell him.
Oh, you mean it was
Oh,
blank?
Carl,
Yes.
I just realized this was on my screen. When I was trying to share that page,
Yeah.
it gave me a message that said your browser has blocked your screen. Click the screen icon in your address bar to allow access, then reload the page.
Okay.
So that's why I couldn't share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now
Um,
I'm going to tell you something funny. Are you ready for this? Phoenix knows my wife Tammy, right? And she don't type anything on Facebook that should be out of the norm, right?
mhm.
Her Facebook got put in jail for 180 days.
Why?
I have no idea. Now, what's funny, they sent that message, right?
Mhm.
She can't post on it. So I had to make her a new Facebook page. So you probably found that out because she probably sent you a link. I had to
She
set
sent
up
me a message.
twice. I had to set her up new Facebook pages. But anyway, you go to her regular Facebook page, it's still up. It's not in jail. It's in
Huh.
jail to her, but nobody else. And I sat there
Hmm.
for 10 hours the other day trying to figure this crap out. Because Tammy don't post
Yeah, they don't
anything
take
political.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Oh, speaking of, I don't know why political just brought this to mind. I was really frustrated with our wonderful governor. He was out on TV giving a speech talking about, if Doge does away with the Department of Education or revamps it and all this, that our kids in school are going to start going hungry and all this stuff because there won't be funding and just a whole bunch of stuff. And I'll tell you what, I was like, I looked at Ken, I said, that man has no business being governor. I said, because it's not even the Department of Education who funds that, it's the Department of Agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what is he out here saying? And that was kind of a big deal between me and one of my children. And, had reposted, and I let her know that was not correct information. And she was like, well, do you care if it's true? Well, yeah, I do care if it's true because, it's getting a whole lot of people riled up over something that doesn't even have to be an issue. That's not going to be affected. Um, but, it's, I was going to say, I am a firm believer. I was talking to Tammy McCartney today on the phone. We need to get her back on here too. But we were talking about this, and I told her, I said, I am all for the First Amendment with certain limitations. I think there can be some boundaries that need to be set, for safety, certain things like that. But in general, we should have free speech. Um, I'm a little torn though when it comes to people in certain positions, though. I think that when you are speaking in the capacity of a governor or congressman or senator, president, you should not blatantly be allowed to come out and lie, you
Right.
know. And I think, if you say something and you find out later it was not correct, then you should be willing to come out and correct that.
Mhm.
Um, and I know some people disagree with me because they're like, well, free speech, free speech. I get that. In the personal capacity, whatever. If he just wants to go out as stupid Andy Bashir and spew crap, that's fine. And I'm torn because I get the free speech aspect, but I also see just stuff being said that is just blatantly not true, keeping stuff just starred. That's where I have a little bit of an issue with that, you know. But then where do you draw the line? Because you could have somebody saying, well, no, that is what I believe is true. So, I mean, how are we going to sit there and go through everything everybody says? I just think there's some things that these people know they're lying about. They absolutely 100% know, and,
Mhm.
are saying, we don't care. It's serving our purpose. Um, so I don't know. I'm a little torn in my feelings about that because I think there should be a certain amount of accountability. If you are doing things on purpose to rile people up and try to bring this country to such a level of hatred for each other, I don't know. Is there not any kind of accountability for just blatantly lying? And then, does that fall under propaganda too? Because I know Obama made it legal. Propaganda's been going on long before that. I've done shows
Mhm.
on conservative view about propaganda and gone, back through history, but it wasn't necessarily legal. So they had to be very tricky in how they did it, more so than when Obama came in, because in 2000, Bill, wasn't it 2015 that Obama made it legal for the government to lie to us? So that's where, I'm like, I just have issues with some of it. And is it that
Mhm.
big of a deal with what he said about school lunches? No, I'm just using that as one example of a million things that people come out with. But I just think, I don't know, I question certain positions, and should you just blatantly be able to come out and just spew stuff that you know for a fact is not true, just for the purpose of riling people up?
Well, there are some laws like slander. You cannot slander somebody
Right.
intentionally. Um, uh, that's illegal. I mean, again, you have to go to court to fight that. So depending on
Right.
who's doing it and who's got favor in the court, that might be a different situation. But slander is clearly one of those things. The media is supposed to be accountable as well, and should
Hmm.
recant on any story that they find out is not true. So that is, you know, also an issue. I don't think they should be, but again, we do have the psyop, the stuff going on, and that thing that Obama did, I think that made it legal to do it on your own people. I think we were able to do propaganda in other countries before that, but then they made it legal to do propaganda on the United States citizens, I
Right.
Right.
think. But somebody can fact check for me. Get back to me if I'm wrong. I'll recant on that. I promise. So, if anything, I say, question it, look it up, and I'm not perfect, obviously. I'm just gonna
Nobody
have
is.
some opinions about things. Right,
And
right. But
that's the
that's what
way it should
that was my
be. As an
understanding of how that
American, you
works.
have your opinions. You know,
Mhm.
Right,
each one of
right.
us probably have a different
And
opinion of a certain thing, and
So
that's called free
Bill says
speech.
it's because Obama read Smith-Munt Act. That's look up the Smith-Munt Act. Well, I can look it up, I guess, too.
Hmm.
yeah, and I get that a crime
He says
must have
I'm
a
a fact
victim,
checker.
but to me there is, because how many attempted assassinations have there been on Trump's life? To me, that's a victim. And how much of those attempts have been because of some of these congressmen and other people just blatantly lying. And then I see his comment that says if they're working in their government capacity, they can't use our Constitution.
Well, yeah, that and what you're saying about Trump, then he could probably charge somebody with slander, maybe, but he wouldn't be able to charge them with actual attempted murder. That is on the part of the person that actually did
Right.
that.
Oh yeah,
But there
no,
might be
I
some
get that.
conspiracy behind that we don't know about that maybe could come
Right.
out and we could find out more about it. Yeah,
Right. I
like
wasn't
MK Ultra.
insinuating they should be charged with attempted murder. I was just responding to Bill's comment that a crime must have a victim. And because that's happened,
Yes,
you know, could he not be
Hmm.
seen
supposed
as
to
a
have a
victim?
victim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
you're
supposed to.
I don't
supposed to have a victim, but a lot of times they try to charge you with their policies and stuff, and not have a victim. That's another
yeah,
subject altogether.
right.
Yeah.
Right. There's been a lot of attempts. Been a lot of attempts on a lot of other presidents too that we never heard about.
Yeah.
That's just
Hmm.
part of holding that office.
Right.
You know, you're the leader of the number one
Well, and
country.
right, and when Trump came in, he had his own. He went and did his own plane. He had his own securities and stuff with him. So he already knew that that was going to be a problem. Well, we
Oh
all
yeah,
did. It was kind of obvious when you're going after their money. They don't
yeah,
like
Right.
that. And
yeah.
I
They
think,
don't like that.
even though we have, um, yeah, yeah, and remember exactly Andrew Jackson. Okay.
Yeah, it happened with Andrew Jackson. Right. But
Well,
anyway, to get
I
on
was gonna
another
bring.
topic, what's that sign behind you, Carrie?
Oh, that's a different sign than I had up earlier.
I know it
Let's see what it
was.
says. It says indoctrinate education, not indoctrination. Stop critical race theory. Well, I would say indoctrination isn't just limited to critical race theory. Unfortunately, they're trying to indoctrinate our kids in a lot of stuff, like
Mhm.
sex and
Hmm.
Right.
genders and whatever it is. But
Right.
yeah, the critical race theory, Trump is addressing that. I think he's taking funding away from any school that does that. I say take the
Right.
funding away completely. Take your kids out of that school. If they're teaching it, get them out of there. Well, I wouldn't put my
Right.
kids in school anyway. I would say homeschool them if you can, or private school. But yeah, that is a huge problem. I wanted to also just he did we talked last week. We talked about the qualified immunity and stuff like that, and the Fourth Amendment. And Trump did bring up at the State of the Union address. He was talking about giving them even more immunity, uh, which is kind of strange, seeing how they went after him. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. Is he trying to use reverse psychology here to get the Supreme Court to do something different? I don't know, but that just didn't make sense to me at all. We have, um, we talked about, how the qualified immunity could be solved, but we also have something called a Brady's list, um, and that is where it lists all the offenses that the officers have, the egregious things that they've done, violations, stuff like that. And the only one that has access to that is a district attorney. So those things should be made public, or
Yep.
at least um, brought out to a certain level of people to be looked at as well. And they could be used right away to implement that qualified immunity situation with the licensing and bonding and insurance thing. I mean, we all have to
Right.
have licenses, doctors, we do, to drive and everything. So if you have a license to practice law enforcement, you should be able to be insured. So if you continue to violate, your insurance would be raised very high and revoked at some point. So your privilege to practice as a law enforcement officer would be removed at that point. Could it be earned back? I don't know, but I mean, there's got to be something done, because if everything that we look at, all the issues that we have, even the issues Trump had, it's all, we have a strong arm of the law, and that is our law enforcement officers who are operating on orders versus lawful orders, acting as brown shirts, basically.
Right.
And after 9/11, they took away most of our Fourth Amendment rights, if the law enforcement even tries to follow those rights, because a lot of
Right.
times they don't, and they usually coerce people, and they use fear, just like they did with COVID. Use fear to control the people. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. You got a lot of officers out there that doesn't follow the law. They create their own law and stuff. But then you
Yep.
have the good officers out there that follow every letter of the law to the T, and they make a
We're all good
judgment
officers.
call when they stop somebody, right? And everything. I mean, I've
Right.
met a lot of them when I drove over the road, right? Highway patrol, especially, and stuff. They're under certain rules and regulations and all this and that. I was stopped in Michigan doing 10 miles an hour over the speed limit by a highway patrolman. Pulled me over in a little bitty Mustang, right? Got out, went back there, showed him all my paperwork and all this and that. I'm sitting in the front seat of his car, and he's got an automatic weapon in the holder right there in the center of the car. So I was talking to him and everything. I said, that's a pretty cool gun. This highway patrolman took it out of the holster and handed it to me. And I'm looking at it going, oh, this is really good. It's got my fingerprints on it now. And this guy started cracking up laughing, right? And I said, no, it's a really nice gun. Here you go. Put it back in your holder and wipe it down,
Well, hopefully
please.
he was a good officer.
He laughed and laughed, and he gave me a warning. He didn't write me a ticket. He gave me a warning. And I said, now I told him, I
Yeah.
said, this has been an unusual opportunity here. Sitting in a highway patrol car, you hand me your weapon, you know, not knowing who I am other than the paperwork you got right there and stuff. He says, as a highway patrolman up here, we are taught to read body language and people. And he said, once you
Hmm.
got in the car and did everything properly, I did not have a problem with you at all. And we both have an interest in weapons. Instead, I said, that's a really cool way to do things. He goes, "Here you go. Have a good day." And before I got out of the car, I said, "Okay, I'll have a good day as soon as you get a rag and wipe my fingerprints off that gun." And he laughed and he got a rag and he wiped his gun down. And I thought that was one of the
Mhm.
coolest things that happened.
Yeah, there's some really good law enforcement out there, and they risk their life every day. They do a
Yeah,
lot of good things. There's very good law enforcement, but they are also operating on orders. They that come down from above, and
right.
so and from judges.
I'll be right
They
back,
have to
Carl.
serve.
Okay.
So- okay, and then I always call the police. They're policy enforcers. They have a lot of policies, but they're not really enforcing the law, and they're not abiding by the Constitution. They think
Right.
because they're told this is our procedure, you know, and they have a procedure. They have and they're taught like when they pull you over, they have proceed to the next thing. So if you
Right.
would have acted nervous, they would have proceeded on to the next thing, or to check you to see if you've been drinking or whatever it was that they were doing, for the
Right.
thing. So, like if you told an officer, if you got pulled over, you said, they ask you right away the first question, "Are you in a hurry?" If you're speeding. Well, if you say yes, then you've admitted that you're guilty of speeding.
Right.
So, and then they proceed to the next. They have a procedure that they go by.
Right.
Excuse me. Anyway, and they also enforce policy. We have a sheriff's office that comes out here and they want to come on my property. They say it's okay because the gate was open. I said no. There's a notice at the gate says that you're only allowed on my property in case of an emergency. That doesn't mean if the gate's open, come on the property. And I
Right.
said, "Are you a constitutional?" Yes. I said, "Well, you just violated, by coming on my property, you violated my constitutional right." So they don't even understand. And my sheriff, he admitted 3 times. I got it on tape saying that he didn't swear an oath to the Constitution. So they don't even swear an oath to the Constitution anymore. He did swear to uphold the laws of the Corporation of the United States of America. So that they do. And so again, they follow policies, procedures,
Right.
protocols, laws that but
And that's
they're
something
not
you
really
got to
supposed to
watch
interpret the law.
because every time you have a
Hmm.
new sheriff elected, you see differences in your officers because of their policies and stuff.
Hmm.
It's the way it is out there right now,
Right,
and a
right.
lot of
But
it's got to be
he said
changed.
because yeah, if the gate had been closed, he wouldn't have come in, but the gate was open. And I said, well, that doesn't matter. There's still a line there. That's my property. But
Right.
well, this is how we do it. Yay. Well, that's not
And I
okay.
say, that's how you do it. That's how you get shot when you're trespassing.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to shoot no officers, or nothing
I
like
don't
that.
either,
I don't
but
want to shoot
if
anyone.
they're
I don't even want to shoot
violating,
illegals when you right.
right,
But I'm within my rights, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get away with it because it depends on the judge and that kind of stuff. So,
oh yeah, you got to know your
um,
judges in the area.
but I do have my property marked. I have it looks like purple people eater barfed all over my fences. It's like purple all over my fences. If you don't know what that
Yep,
means, that's universal, no trespassing.
right,
And it does have a very clear stated sign, no trespassing. And then I have another one that's out there that says that you're not allowed to enter unless, even law enforcement, anybody, unless there's the clear emergency for that. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
right. Oh, I know, and everything.
anyway.
It's the same thing around here. We all post our properties with the purple on trees, on signs, you name it, everywhere. Universal and everything, but you'd be surprised how many people don't pay attention to it,
Right.
especially out on our hunting grounds.
Bill had he said something about Trump using immunity to strip people of high crimes of the Fifth Amendment. I'm not sure what he means by that. Maybe you could explain that a little better.
Right.
Oh, my above statement is my opinion. Okay. And don't talk to the police. Yeah, I mean, anytime you're offering information. Now, some officers are gonna get cop an attitude with you too.
Mhm.
You gotta kind of, you know, uh, there's no reason to be rude though. You don't have to be,
No.
But yes,
Right.
everything you say can and will be used against you for sure. So if they ask you if you're in a hurry, you can just say, you can plead the fifth anytime you want. I plead the fifth. Also sounds like an admission of guilt, but people do it. So
Like Hunter being
like
pardoned.
Hunter being
Yeah.
pardoned before he's even charged of a crime. That's pretty funny, huh? Is that kind of an admission of guilt?
I know that when Biden did all that stuff, pardoning people that hadn't been charged yet and stuff, I'm like, how in the hell can you pardon somebody that hasn't been charged and found guilty?
They
That
can
is about the
definitely.
stupidest thing I heard.
Right.
Well, and it would be one thing if this was political, stuff going back and forth like they're doing to Trump and all that kind of stuff. If it was, there's no girth to it or whatever. But I mean, even Biden came out and admitted, what did he say? He said, if you don't drop the case or whatever, you're not going to get your billions of dollars. Said it right in front of everybody on TV, and
Right.
again, nothing. You know,
Mhm.
nobody got in trouble.
No.
Right.
He wasn't president then, so he didn't
No, he
have that
wasn't.
immunity. I don't believe.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. But yeah, it's ridiculous. We'll see what else. People
My
who haven't
question
been burned for a crime committed crimes.
my question is, how can you give somebody a pardon when they're not even charged with a crime?
Exactly.
I mean, a pardon is for people
That
charged
have
with a
been
crime
charged and
and
found guilty.
convicted, right? So how are we giving pardons preemptively and they're holding? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, that may change
I do.
here before long. You heard the latest from Steve Gardner, didn't you? And everything, who he was talking to.
I don't know.
They've called a doctor in to check Biden out. And if they can prove all this, that he wasn't in the right mind during the presidency, then every pardon he did and every executive order he did will be erased.
Okay.
They were talking about that. He was talking about it with another guy on there today, and we just lost Carrie.
Yeah. She
But
froze.
yeah, it that was a great story, and they were even talking, if they can prove, and there are people that work for Biden in there that's ready to come out and say after his first year he didn't wasn't in charge of anything. Other
Mhm.
people were telling him, and they're really looking at Obama and
Mhm.
everything because that would have been his third term, and you can't do that.
Right. Well,
So,
I I've even heard that there's more stuff that's come out about Obama's birth certificate.
hmm
And I said before that there is a video of him talking to some people. I don't know where they're at, but he's talking to a group of people. And he fully admits, this is after his presidency, he fully admits to them that he was not born in America. And you can see everybody in the room just look shocked and they're all looking at each other going, just everybody looking with these shocked faces. Hi, Cameron. And
Hey, Cameron, how you doing, brother?
he kind of chuckles and he looks at everybody and goes, "Yeah, that's right. I wasn't born here." And I'm like, with all the hoopla, because if you were not born here, you cannot be president. And
Mm-mm.
everything that you did is supposed to be um wiped out. Now, I mean, this many years later, how do you wipe out everything you did? But then if you know you were not born here and you are willingly participating in this big fraud to become president, can you not be charged?
No, I mean they have scammed us so bad through all that, and a lot of it's going to be coming out in the next couple of years. I say it's going to take a while for a lot of it to come out as they dig in deeper and deeper, because with Trump's group, as soon as they get something, they're not going to charge anybody with anything until they have the full facts and ready to be 100% when they go into court. So, yeah, it's going to be a wild time here the next couple of years. Just like everybody was talking about, well, Trump's in office now. How come our prices aren't down? People, it's going to take a while. It's not going to go down overnight. Had a
Okay.
gentleman, yeah,
I'm messaging Carrie. She asked what happened and then asked, "Is it my internet?" I said, "Yes, it is your
here
internet."
she is.
So
She's
that's
back
why I was
in.
like, she's trying to get back.
Right. Here she is. I thought she got
I don't
mad
know.
and
I
left,
didn't
and
know
I
if
was
you guys
like, what'd we say?
it was you, Carl. It was you.
It was me. It was
I
me.
don't know. You guys didn't lose connection. It was just me.
It
Just
was just
you.
you.
We was talking, and all of a sudden you went bye-bye,
You
and we
froze for
went,
the longest
oh
time and
God,
then
we
you're
lost
gone.
Carrie.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't like what I said, I guess. I don't
No,
know.
I was like, damn, maybe the sheriff showed up at her door.
No, 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 no. Oh, yeah, the gate is open. I'm just saying.
Cameron, I
No,
ultimately I agree with you.
I haven't.
Cameron says he'll be surprised if we see any trials and punishments, that he thinks it's all a big game. I don't think we're going to really see anybody held accountable for anything either.
No.
And, but if we don't, then, it just continues,
Yeah. It
We're really
continues
not
on saying, okay, who's going to bring out the true facts, in our
Yeah,
government?
we had this discussion earlier. Yeah, me and Phoenix were talking about that earlier. Like until we see some perp box and somebody doing something, it all just seems like kabuki theater. It's just a show. It's like the whole thing just seems like a show. And it's
It
always,
is.
tomorrow, preview tomorrow, right? Everybody show up tomorrow. Nothing happens again and again.
Well, it's like
The
they
same
say,
thing
you see
over
what's
and over
going
in our
on this
government.
hand, you pay attention to this hand. Don't watch this one over here as
Yeah.
I'm doing stuff, right? And what they got is
Mhm. A lot of distraction.
what's taking the stage right now in our government. It's Doge. So everybody's watching what Elon and all them guys are doing and bringing out. They're not watching what's going on over here. That's
I
government.
think Doge is
Mhm.
doing a lot of good. I'm not saying there is nothing at all being changed or anything, but I mean, as far as the corruption, I mean, let's put it this way, just for the everyday person,
Yeah.
if you're out there stealing left and right, and even if people find out, but the store you're stealing from continues to let you come in knowing that, you know, that person's probably not going to stop stealing because the
Right.
actions of that store, even though they might be saying, "Oh, shame on you," every time you walk in here, you're walking out with a TV or this or that, whatever, shame on you. But if they let that person keep coming in and doing the crime and walking out and coming back in, and what's going to change?
So it's no
Nothing.
different than if you're a person out here laundering money back and forth, just like the government's been doing and everything. We'll get
Bill.
caught and charged immediately. So, yeah.
Cameron
Um,
says that
I
the
want to
crimes they have
address what
committed
Cameron.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. Cameron was making a comment. I don't know if you guys addressed it when I took off somewhere. I don't know where I went. The crimes have been committed are treason, which the Constitution. No, that's not the one. Oh, the BlackRock one. That's the one I wanted to
Yeah.
address. We'll see. I'll be surprised if we see any trials and punishments. Yes. And then I think it's all a big game. I agree. I think there's a lot of games going on. And then BlackRock buy the ports. I didn't know they buy the ports, but I do know that Trump said something about Bitcoin and BlackRock and these guys. Come on, these are the guys that own everything. They own everything.
Mm-hmm.
BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard. They own the oil in my ground over here. I mean, it's just they own everything. And he's going to these people that are running that have been doing all this for how long? And I don't like the whole Bitcoin thing. I don't know a lot about it. I mean, I know enough to know that it's probably not going to be good. That's all I'm saying about that. Then there's some, let's see, crimes. You put attention on Soros, Rothschilds. Yes. Yeah. I don't know how much I want to get into that on here, but maybe at another time on another show. Going into the Rothschilds and all that stuff. Yeah. BlackRock bought both sides of the canal, hence Trump's executive order. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Panama Canal, the one that we're going to.
Right.
I haven't talked too much about BlackRock. I've talked a little about it, but I've done shows on the Rothschilds.
Yeah, well, there are different. I don't know how much I can say on here.
This is the Bill of Rights Network. So
there
say what you want to.
Okay, so we have different. There's a scripture in the Bible, and I'm going to quote it as best I can. It says, "Those that are not Jews, that claim to be Jews, that are of the synagogue of Satan." I believe the Bible's true, and I believe that they have been running the show for a long time behind the scenes. So, and that's not all Jews. There are people, but there's a state of Israel, and there is the church, which is Israel, the descendants of Jacob, and they're blurring the lines between that because they want everybody to stand up, and worship the Jews. They call us useful goyim. They use derogatory words that we are nothing in their eyes. Zero. Mm-hmm. Nothing. We're like dogs. Not even like dogs like you would treat your dog.
Right.
So there is and here we are with, Rothschilds are the Jews. Okay. They are, and they own all the pharmaceutical companies. They own everything. They make money is not really an issue other than it gives us power and control. So because they can make it, the real money is us, and the products that we have and the value we have there, and they consider us a product pretty much. So, and we'll we'll go down that rabbit hole another time with research of that control by the Gazarians and Rothschild. Yes. So, and then we have, Trump, signing up with them. So, again, we're not going to be able to know anything. There's supposedly this plan and all that stuff going on. Well, until we see somebody accountable for their crimes, I'm just going to continue to pray and sit back and try to reveal the truth, and hopefully people will prepare for whatever is coming. I'm just saying. So I know that's one of the things that we're doing is, preparing for whatever we can prepare for. Homesteading, teaching people as much as we can about the scriptures and not just for ourselves. We're preparing for our neighbors and stuff too, to help, with whatever comes our way. And if nothing comes, we're still prepared. We still have food, so we're good. We don't know, what's coming yet, but I don't believe anything is changed until we see arrests. Somebody has to be held accountable.
Right.
We were told that he was going to arrest Hillary in his first term. We never saw that. Then he said, Hillary, I like Hillary. I'm like, really? So, I mean, he just goes back and forth with everything he says, too. So we don't know what he's thinking. Yeah. Let's see what other we got on here. Yeah, it's a piece of paper with a promise. Yeah, it's not even that anymore. There's no promise with it anymore either.
Right.
That's why I said money is really not money. That give Caesar what's Caesar's. If you have, if you got to pay $10 for a dozen eggs, a dozen eggs is still a dozen eggs that we had, 10 years ago that we may have paid a quarter for or whatever. It's still a dozen eggs. It doesn't matter. If I've got a dozen eggs and you've got a dozen apples, you want to trade? You think your apples are worth more? Okay, I'll give you 2 dozen eggs for those apples. That's how it works. You have something. You have to create. We're creative people, people. We don't need. Right now we've come dependent on China and the box stores and everything else. Unfortunately, we don't make anything here anymore. And I see that Trump's saying all these good things and he's doing all these good things. What is the bigger picture, the big plan in his head behind it? I don't know. I don't know men's hearts. Only God knows men's hearts. So we can only look at the fruit of what comes from it. So the arrests, maybe the arrests aren't as important as just cleaning up. I don't know. So.
Yeah, I think, so I know a lot of people might disagree with me, but kind of tying in some of my religious beliefs and stuff, I personally think that Trump is right where he's supposed to be. And there were,
oh yeah,
I do believe, in the gifts of the Spirit and all that. I was raised Southern Baptist, where I know that was back in biblical times, not for today, but there's lots of scriptures that counteract that. So I believe they're still active today. And there were many prophecies given long before Trump ever even considered being president that he would be president. Kim Clement was a big one. So do I believe that God put him here? Yes, I do. Now, does that mean that he's going to do everything right or save us or, whatever? No, but I believe that along with the prophecies that were given was that there will maybe be enough change to hold off a lot of the end time stuff to give America a chance, to fall to their knees and repent and get closer, because the further away Americans get from God, the worse we get, in many aspects. And we're never going to be a perfect country, but we have become so deviant in so many aspects. And yes, I know founding fathers had secrets. I know a lot of those. Like, I am a history buff. I'm not saying that we've always been great, whether it's out in the open, in the dark, but we were genuinely founded on a lot of Christian principles, which is why a lot of stuff, was changed, and people used to go to church and pray together, and God was more of a focal point, as a whole. um and the further we get away from those principles, the further our country goes downhill. So do I personally believe that this is a little bit of a reprieve, where God's saying, I'm giving y'all another shot? Yeah, I do know that I do believe that the Bible and everything in it and Revelations has to come to pass. But I do think that God tries to give everybody every chance that he can for us to see and hear and, believe. And so that's kind of where my thoughts are. I don't look at Trump as he's just going to save us. He's just a man. He's not. We're all going to trust wrong people. We're all going to have things we don't know or things we don't understand or whatever. Are there going to be decisions he makes that could even unknowingly usher in something tied to the end times? Maybe, but that doesn't mean that God still didn't have a purpose and a plan for putting him here. And I think there is a lot of change that I've seen in Trump, his first term versus this term. A lot of people attribute it to, all the assassination attempts. I don't know if that's it or not, but there are some differences that I see that I like. He's still arrogant, but he doesn't seem to be quite as arrogant and cocky, and I think that's a plus. But I know where America's going to end it. I mean, I've read the Bible several times, especially Revelations. Revelations fascinates me. Um, I've heard so many people say it's so confusing. Well, not really. All you have to do is sit and read it. Um, you know, I know where we're going to end up as a country. I know what's ahead. Um, but I also know that we have been as blessed as we are as a country because of our founding. And I think that God's trying to give us a little bit of a reprieve. Mostly Democrats, Bill. And I think that's part of
Can I
why they're so
respond to
bad.
that? I can't. Everything's lagging a little bit, so I don't know if you're done talking or if you're still talking. It's kind of hard to
I was
tell.
answering Bill. He said Trump was asked to run.
Can
Do
you?
you know by who? And I
Oh,
said
okay.
Democrat. Which is why I think, part of why they're mad, because when
Anyway,
he did decide to run, he ran as a Republican, and he was going to drain the swamp.
So they wanted him to run, thinking that Harris and them
General
was going to
Rogers.
beat him and everything, and it backfired on him.
A lot of people were asking him to run. I mean, and that's what cracks me. I mean, a lot of people, from the cackling hens on The View, asking him to run, to General Rogers. I mean, a whole lot of people were asking him and have asked for years. There's an
Mhm.
old, what was that lady's name
General
that had the
Kellogg.
daytime talk show? Um, oh gosh, I can't think of her name. She had blonde hair and glasses, and she had a daytime talk show. This was back in the 80s, early 90s. She was
Oh,
talking to
Martha
Trump
Stewart.
about, no, 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 no. She was a daytime talk show
Oh,
host.
that. Oh God, what was her name? I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh
I can
shit.
see her face, but I cannot.
I can too.
Even that long ago, there were people talking to him about running for president,
Yeah.
and he said
God,
back
what was
then,
her name?
that
You
if
talking
I
about Jesse Raphael?
yes, Sally Jesse Raphael.
God, that just popped in my head. I was
Thank
like,
you.
uh,
Yes,
God, that tells how old we are. Yeah.
I'm a spring chicken. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right.
Like you were saying earlier, Phoenix, God does create.
I'm sorry, you froze. What?
You froze. Say it again,
Can y'all
Carrie.
hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yes.
now.
Now,
I'm going to respond to what Phoenix. Okay.
Go-
So God did create some vessels for good and some for evil. He said the pathway is broad, narrow is the way, right? So we have um, a smaller number, going through the narrow pathway, obviously. So Trump, there's a lot of. It says there's going to be lots of false prophets, not a few, but a lot. We have to remember that both sides have powers. Okay, so just because we get a lot of our knowledge from fallen angels, which are the demonic
correct.
side, right? So they can also, you have fortune tellers and stuff like that.
Correct.
So it doesn't just necessarily mean that somebody's prophesying is good or bad.
Correct.
Trump has his spiritual advisor, which is not somebody I would pick. Definitely not. And um, so I wanted to just comment on that a little bit. So a lot of the things that he's doing it's almost like if he wasn't trying to portray the end times coming or fill in some spots that may or may not be fulfilled that way, it seems like he's trying to make it look like that if he's not, because a lot of things that he's doing is. And even when he ran the first time, my husband, everybody was excited. And I was excited too. I thought, we were going to have all this change, which we've had some, people are seeing stuff and everything. Things didn't happen. Hillary didn't get arrested, though. Keep going back to that, right? So I told my husband, I said, well, we can get excited. I said, but how do you know he's not ushering in the mark of the beast? And along came COVID. And I was like, oh my gosh, he may actually be doing that because, people were saying maybe the shot, and I'm not saying that's the mark. And I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't have, all the answers. I'm just saying that you got to speculate as to what's going on. There's a lot more going on, things like the Euphrates River drying up, the red heifers, the temple, that kind of stuff.
Which is why I keep bringing up Revelations. I see all the end time stuff happening, like, and that's what is so hard for me sometimes is because I see this happening, and there's so many times I'm driving in my car thinking about this stuff, and I'm like, Lord, look at all these people just driving where they have to go, and so many of these people don't know you and don't even understand what they're seeing. And there's times I just break down and start crying and talking to them about these people, and Lord, reveal yourself in a way that they have to see and blatantly say, I don't care,
Right.
I don't know. I just have lots of conversations with God. Do I think that he's bringing in the mark of the beast? No, I have my own ideas because I've studied that a lot. I also have looked into the one world religion stuff, which was formed in 1999, and a lot of people don't know that.
Mhm.
This is not something new. They formed that back in 1999. The only person that was not represented for a religion was Protestant Christians. They said the Pope represented Catholics and Protestant Christians. Well, the Pope does not represent me. I know the rules of what can be talked about when they implement all this. I know the consequences of it, including the years of prison. Like, I've done a lot of digging into this stuff. So I don't say that stuff very flippantly when I say that I believe that Trump is where he's supposed to be and why I think he is. Now, that doesn't mean that there's still not going to be stuff that happens. Nobody is going, I mean, I don't know. I could play a role unknowingly. God forbid. I sure hope not. I would not want to be responsible in any way for any of that, you know. But I mean, God can use a donkey in the Bible, you know. Why can't he use Trump, you know?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
do I believe that God is going to bring some things through this? Yes. And I'm going to tell you, Trump's first term, I was not thrilled, but I knew I was not going to vote for Hillary. But I didn't know that I wanted Trump because
Oh yeah,
what does
definitely.
he know? Although I did like the fact that he wasn't a politician, but that was also, you know, like I didn't want the typical. So I was torn on how to feel about Trump. I was not automatically a woohoo, yay, you know, no, that was not me. I didn't know how to feel about it. There were things I loved and things that also concerned me. But I'm going to tell you honestly, you know, I hear a lot of people talk about the vaccines and mark of the beast, and the vaccines, none of them match the description of the mark of the beast. None of them.
No,
There is no mention in the
no.
Bible
It was just
about the arm and stuff. You know, it talks about the right hand and the forehead. You know, well, COVID shots were going in the arm. All these people talking about the mark of the beast with that. I was like, look, all you got to do is pick up your Bible. I mean, it's not that complicated. You know, honestly, I have believed for years and
no.
years.
I don't know. I don't think it's
Right. I honestly, and a lot of people may want to put a bullet in my head for
but
saying this, but
I
I
think the
honestly believe
control.
I believe that the Pope in conjunction is going to really be the one to usher it in. And especially if you read in Revelations, and I can give you the scriptures, there are scriptures that talk about Mystery Babylon. And I hear so many people say, oh, that's the United States. No, it's not. Read the description again. It is describing the Vatican. It says the whore is dressed in purple and crimson. That's not us. Look at what the Vatican
Yeah.
wears, purple and crimson. Well, the chalice, the golden chalice with sins. Okay, well, that's not the Statue of Liberty. That's a torch. Who has a golden chalice and has ordained through their church sins? The Catholic Church. You know, I mean, if you really go through it and think about what it is describing, I don't see where people come up with the United States. And it talks about the 7 hills in the same chapter. We are not known as having the 7 hills. What is? The Vatican, Rome, you know, like you know, to me, that's why I say I read this stuff and it's like, this just really is not that complicated. If you just really think about this and what these descriptions and stuff are saying.
Duck down behind your bed over there.
I
You got
see
a
'em.
little one sneaking around.
Yes, exactly. If
I
you
was
look at everything with it, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
When I
lagging.
say ushering in the mark of the beast, yeah, I'm lagging, but it's not necessarily the shot. But I mean, people were thinking it might be the shot, but I'm just saying it's the control mechanism, the control arm for ushering in the mark of the beast is something different than the actual mark, you know. So you know, things have to be put into place. You know, you can see how the progression is over time, even just with the stuff with 9/11 and how they're you know pushing us down a certain path. And so I was saying, is he ushering it in? Is he going to present it? I don't know. But, you know, the whole COVID thing was an example of how the whole world responded to that. It wasn't just, you know, here, it was everywhere that they had control over people with that. And is the shot the mark of the beast? Probably not. No. But there are other things that will come into play, like the Bitcoin, and whether you can buy or sell, whether you have the mark of the beast. That's what the scripture says. So,
Correct.
They're going to start controlling that, and that's where this is coming in. And see, now the whole Bitcoin has come into play, and Trump is, working with the Rothschilds for that. So, and Trump being, the scripture also says, is hard for it to be easier for, no, it'd be hard. I'm trying to get this quote straight. The eye of the needle, okay? A rich man to get through an eye of the needle, it'd be easier for him to do that. Hi, sweetie. And then to make it into the kingdom of heaven. Trump is not a poor man, and none of his family is. He has a lot of gold and stuff around everything, and he's talking about the golden age. And so we need to look at the whole big picture. There's some things I like about Trump that people don't like. I like that he's straightforward. He's a straight shooter. He may say it like this. He makes me laugh. I mean, he says stuff about people. He's a real, he acts like a real person versus a politician. You have to remember that all of our politicians are nothing but actors. And now we have a bunch of actors in there as politicians. That happens too. But that's, if you're, somebody was saying, well, I don't like the way he talks. Well, do you want an actor in there? They say whatever you want them to say. They'll say whatever you want them to say. They can do it, and they can smile and say, hey, we're coming to take all your rights away. And aren't you happy about that? But they don't. They lie. They lie just like actors, professional actors. They lie about who they are. Maybe in this role or that role. And even in real life they do. So that's what it is. It's one and the same. And so we're seeing a big show, and that's why everything seems orchestrated. It looks like a show because it kind of is. Just saying, I mean, until we see somebody, be accountable for their actions, to me, it's nothing more than a show. And I'll yield with that. That's a pretty good one right there.
he's having too much fun back there, Phoenix.
Dad went to go pick up Big Brother from work.
That's all right.
No, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Don't worry about it.
We're still live, baby. You can't be screaming and stuff.
Anyway.
That just shows we're regular people. When kids pop in.
He says I look
the yeah, there's a lot. We can talk about symbolism too on another show too. Like there's a lot of symbolism that's out there, with everything.
There is.
So,
did you know that?
He's got a huge.
Come here. Did you know that in 2015 we already had a congresswoman trying to pass a bill for a mandatory National Sunday law? And the interesting National Sunday law where everybody in the country shuts down on Sunday. And, I was talking to my mother about that. And I said, if you have like a straight line and here's number one and number 7 in this line, you cannot get any further apart. And, the Bible also says that, the Antichrist, and the beast, they can change the days and times, that they will change the days and times. Well, God never changed the Sabbath from the 7th day to the 1st. I mean, you can't get any more opposite. I mean, if you look at Sunday coming after Saturday, well, yeah, it looks like the next day. But really, one is day 1 and one is day 7. You can't get any more opposite on a 7-day week. And the Catholic Church is the one that changed it from Saturday to Sunday, which is the first day of the week. So it's a total perversion of one of the 10 commandments. And now, back in 2015, they already tried to pass a law and it didn't go through. But they tried to pass the law to force everyone to have to shut down businesses and take off for this National Sunday law to honor the Sabbath, And so many people don't even know. Hold on. A lot of people, think that it did actually get changed. They don't understand that it was the Catholic Church that did it and that
Right.
God is saying that. So how many people are going to be forced to honor the Sabbath? And that's part of the one world religion. That's already said in there that we will be globally shutting down on Sunday. So, the Bible says that the day will come that we have to choose who we serve.
Right.
And, you know, I think
Right.
Hope I respond
once they
real
force
quick.
it right
I know
now,
we're
our
going to
society is set up for Sunday worship. It's not mandatory.
What do you think's
But I
going to
think once that
happen?
law goes in, that's where it changes because that's going to be part of that beast system that's going into place to force Christians to choose whether they're going to honor the day. On it, baby, please. To say no, I'm not going to do this. Saturday is a Sabbath if I'm going to honor it, not Sunday. And then my
Right.
mom said, "Yeah, but how are they going to know if you do or not?" And I said, "Well, a chip."
Right. Well, what do you think's going to happen? Because you heard about the Pope is in bad shape in the hospital and everything.
Bye.
Any ideas on who the new Pope they'll put in? What he'll change?
Bye bye.
I think the new pope is going to
Well,
probably be the last pope.
Bye bye.
they said this one was the last pope. But let me respond to what you were talking about earlier. First of all, the
Good night,
government
Carol.
already owns the church. They've 501c3 has already been put in place. The calendar has been changed. We don't go by the calendar, the moon calendar, and all that. So it's all changed, Gregorian calendar. So we don't even know what day is the Sabbath anyway. And that's, one of the things. But, we should be honoring God every day. And Saturday, yes, was the true Sabbath, not the Sunday. But they did meet on Sunday in the scripture. And then so there's a lot of confusion on all that stuff, and there's a lot of things in the scripture that people are confused about on that. But yeah, the Catholic Church has brought in all kinds of paganism, and they have all kinds of symbolism. You can see that they're not, and they do things that are not scriptural.
Oh yeah.
Clearly that's an apostasy, or whatever you want to call it. So um, hopefully we maybe we can do another show on something like that, later on, because we're overtime now. I don't know how Carl's feeling.
Oh
He's
well,
been
a
sick,
little bit. We're
but
going to
I don't
go
know how
two
much farther
hours,
you
so
guys
we
want to
got
go.
about eight. We got about 18 minutes left to cover anything you girls want to talk about. But yeah,
Oh, we're going to two
it's going to
hours
change
today.
a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was
tonight
an
we'll
hour
go
and a
2 hours.
half. My bad.
Well,
Okay.
sometimes we go an hour and a half. It depends
All
what
right.
I've done through the day.
Okay.
If I'm dead tired, but I'm doing pretty good. So, but no, a lot of things could change with a new pope
Well,
coming in.
after we get off. Oh, good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. Anyway, Carrie, what
Hmm.
after we get off? What?
After we get off, we're going to stay on so I can talk to you for a few minutes when we get off.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we got a lot
But
of things going on in the world, the government, and everything right now. People still have to keep their eyes open on what's going on and stay tuned to it because like
it's moving
like we
so
said,
fast.
one hand feeds this, the other hand does this over here. So we have to pay
Yeah.
attention to everything.
Okay. Okay.
Well, Satan is the author of confusion. And so there's so much going on, and people's attention spans are very slow, are very small at this point. And so the news cycle is moving really fast. And there's, like you said, there's something going on over here. They got the shiny object over here, and then something's going on over here, and then something's going on back here too. So they're
Right.
they're pretty sneaky about what they're doing. And then, but a lot of stuff, Trump's just coming out and saying that's what he's doing. I'm like, what? Like, are you serious? And people are just like, oh, it's okay because he's doing all this other stuff. He's doing so much good. I'm like, yeah, but it's not the stuff that he's doing that's good that's the problem. It's the stuff that he's not doing or doing in the background.
Right. That
So we
he's
have
not
to really
really
keep our eyes
telling
on
us
it. We
about.
can't
Yeah.
just let our guard down.
Right.
Yeah, we can't let our guard down. We got to see what's going on. We have to have results. And like I said, again, we're looking for people to be accountable. I mean, we know that our government's been crooked. We know that people have been stealing. He's proving that. So once you find out all this theft was there, are you just going to stop the theft and let the thief get away? Because they're going to go somewhere else and steal. They don't just quit.
Right.
And what are you going to do? Are you going to take down the whole government? Because the whole government's corrupt, even all the way down to the dog catcher over here. Like,
oh yeah,
corruption.
It's corrupt.
I don't
Not
see
only
anything,
in Washington D.C., but in every state. It's all the way down to your mayors in your cities.
And all the way down to the city level.
Yeah. I mean, it's that
it's
way.
all about the love of money, and they can control things. They like control.
Yeah.
And it corrupts. I mean, I pray for those people. It's a very tough position to be in. In the government. And you get a little bit. It's just like the officers. We'll go back to the qualified immunity. They get a little power. They get a power trip, especially some of the younger ones that are depending on how they're raised or where they're raised and stuff. They can get on a little power thing. They start feeling that they don't
right.
They're not mature enough to handle that position, and then they start going letting the power get to them.
Well, it's like you said, the corruption and everything. It's like we've said on the other shows and everything. If I would have paid more attention to politics when I was younger and everything, when I turned 21, I should have ran for office. If I would have only been elected one time, I'd been set for life because I would have that yearly pay coming in. Just one
time.
we're
talking about getting rich, is what you're saying.
I'm like,
I thought you were going to correct all this corruption, Carl.
Well, back then, yeah, you could have changed a few things and everything, and then somebody ran against you and beat you. Okay, we'll let them try it. Now, I get my paycheck every year, every month.
Well,
and that's what a lot of them are looking at.
What did Go ahead. What did they promote back then, though? Do you remember, like the TV, the agenda back then was don't talk about
the TV back then? We're talking
you don't talk
70. We're talking 75. We'll talk 75 to 81.
We're talking about after the Archie Bunker show, because but still,
that was during Archie Bunker show and everything. I mean,
it just. I mean, where I was from, Wisconsin, was very liberal anyway, and
right. Well, we've always.
I'm just saying the things that you can see the progression of change, but we were always, we never talked about religion or politics.
No, we never did either.
That was not something that you talked about.
The only time we started talking politics is when I got a little older and I got an argument with Dad and everything because he was a damn Democrat.
Yeah.
And everything, and growing up like that and stuff. And I got to looking in it a little bit, and I went, I ain't no damn Democrat. The Constitution. Yeah, but the country does this, and if something happens, they'll give you everything. And I'm like, you're full of shit. They could give us everything, but they're going to take everything at the same time.
Well, and I'm going to try to say this word, degraded. I can't even talk. Sorry. The moral degradation, is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
We've sunken so low, and that's part of they I can't remember what that's called, but they come into the country and they first corrupt the morals, and then they open the borders, they do all that stuff. That's to take control also, because People are, I don't know. It's
I know. One of
it's
the
a
biggest things
takeover
in politics
tactic as
back
well.
in my younger days was Nixon and everything. Every time we turned on the news, something was
Yeah.
going on with Watergate. And I'm sitting there
Was it
going,
like this?
yeah. They're
Can
like,
you do
oh,
the Nixon impersonation?
these two guys photographing somebody in the Democrat Party over there, taking with flashlights on. And I'm going, okay. So they did, you know. And then I remember the exact day and time when Nixon got on there. I'm not guilty, but I will resign from president of the United States. And I'm like, really? Okay. Got your hand caught in the
Yeah, but do
cookie
you
jar
think
is
that
what
that was
happened.
all a show back then too?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but see, again, we're seeing it a little bit more now, and I don't know if it's because we're mature or we're paying attention, or if it's just in our face so much now,
It's in
or
our face because it's live.
back then it was the same.
Back in, it
Yeah,
wasn't
it
live.
was the same back then. We just didn't see it.
Right, but it wasn't
Yeah.
live.
Well, we didn't have the internet back then either. We didn't have
You
the
got a
internet
good
back then.
point
We had to
there.
rely on exactly what they told us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
I
A
have
lot
it
of
turned
things
down, but
changed
it's
from
still
back
on.
in to now and what the younger group, what they listen to and what they see and what they hear. They're not being taught to read between the lines
Right.
and grow your own opinion and look at things that's going on around you, right? They're not being taught that.
Right.
And it's right there in their face every day on the news, on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere you can, X, everything. Everything they read on X, oh, that's got to be the truth. That's got to be the truth. And I'm like, no.
Well, there's psyops in the alternative media as well. But there's, people are so distracted, and parents were distracted, and everybody's so busy trying to, rub two pennies together, and then you've got kids that are, video game, watch TV, do the video game, get out of my hair, kind of thing. And not to fault the parents that much on that, because parents are just busy, and it entertains them and keeps them busy. So, but we're the same way. It's really hard to, do what we're supposed to be doing if we're so busy working and trying to have, the keeping up with the Joneses or whatever it is that we're doing, right?
Right.
Um, and we should be able to just enjoy our lives, to some degree, and not have to worry about all that stuff. But if we don't, you can see what happens,
Oh, I
you know.
know.
And now that we're older and we have kids and grandkids, we want it different for them. We want it to be like it was when we were kids. It's not,
Hmm.
but it's not the same.
No, it'll
And
never go back
how do
to
you
the
take it
way,
away from them?
right. It'll never go back to the way when
Right.
I was a kid. I know that and everything, but I try to make it
We were
as
we were
close
so
as
blessed. Do we
possible.
realize how
Yeah.
yeah, do
When
we
you went
realize how blessed
outside,
we were that we didn't
you
have
went
all that?
outside, you weren't coming in the house until it was dark. And if that outside light came on and you
Right.
weren't in the house, you was in trouble, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And
now
stuff.
you'd go to jail for that. You go to jail for that. If you
I
put your
know.
kids outside, told them don't come home until it's dark, you'd go to jail for that.
Oh, my
And
dad would have went
that
to
was
jail
all
so many times if he was alive now when I was a kid of everything I had to go through.
well, one thing I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least with one of the things I did with my kids is they didn't have they weren't sitting in front of the television and all that stuff. They
Mm-mm.
didn't have that stuff. They didn't, have the cell phone. We didn't watch TV. We did stuff. So I'm thankful that they got that experience. Now as adults, what they're doing now, I don't know, but that's different. But at least they grew up with some work ethic, and
Right.
they enjoyed the things that and I mean, not that they were, kept in a plastic bubble or anything, but they had horses. They did, they did stuff.
Oh yeah,
They were
the same.
homeschooled, but they had a co-op, so they had friends, that they could, interact with and stuff. Probably
Right.
not as much as they wanted to or whatever. They don't like, the way mom raised them or whatever, but I thought I was doing something good for them. So, and you know,
Same
every
way
kid goes
here
through that
and
stage where
everything.
they're like
Right. My kids,
denying their parents, or
luckily,
parents are
we
stupid.
lived in small towns that had small schools. So you could call the teacher,
Right.
you could call the principal, you could walk into that
Mhm.
school and sit in that classroom, do
Mhm.
any of that. My kids learned to hunt, fish, work, all that. I'm proud of each and every one of them. And they're teaching their kids the same
Mhm.
thing and stuff. And I'm so proud of that they're continuing it on and everything to be a person in their
I,
community.
mhm. My grandbabies play outside. They do a lot of stuff like that. They're not, I mean, do they have cell phones, they have, games, they have TV, but they do a lot of stuff. So that's good. I'm thankful for that they're not,
My biggest thing right
so
now is when it comes around deer season and we get to take our grandkids out deer hunting to get their first deer and stuff. That to me is the most satisfying enjoyment to watch it on their face and everything. It don't have to be a big deer or anything, but in their eyes, it's a monster, you know, and watching them and everything. So
yeah.
just a second.
Yeah, I remember how big things were when we were kids. Well, that's good. Getting your kids used to guns and things like that. I was never exposed to that when I was a kid because I lived in the inner city, so
Mhm.
and I was grew up in liberal, so I didn't really care for guns. I didn't want anything to do with guns, but
Oh, I
as
grew
I
up.
got older and especially when I got to Texas, it was like, when I got
Right.
to Texas, that's kind of
Oh,
crazy, right?
Papa
But
would take me out
yeah.
hunting and everything when I was little and stuff. By the time I was 8 years old, I was going out behind Papa's house in the timber with a 410 shotgun by myself, rabbit hunting. Anytime I wanted to, he'd let me. Growing up like that, I learned so much from him and stuff. How to treat little kids, how to treat kids. Not my mom and dad, my grandfather, mom's
Hmm.
dad, and stuff. And I attribute so much to him and everything of raising us up and stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, we got about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Phoenix,
it's good to
you
have
got
that
anything to
good
say?
foundation. It's good to have that good foundation.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I would like to pray before we end. I did pray before we started, but before you guys, I'd like
Okay.
to pray us out if I
And
could,
when you
if y'all don't
pray, do
mind.
me a favor, Tammy
Lord, we
Lee,
just come to you. Go
before you pray, put
ahead. Okay,
Tammy Lee Gardner in your
Tammy
prayers.
Lee.
She broke her back.
Mhm.
Ooh, okay. Well, we'll pray for her for quick healing. She is
Right.
she at what is she at home or at the hospital or is she
She's at home right now.
okay, we'll just pray for her.
Right.
Okay. All right. So she's in the process of healing. She's
Right.
not in the emergency room right now, right?
Right. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Well, Lord, we just thank you for this show and this opportunity to share with people. Lord, we pray that your truth and your word will go forth. And I ask that you would be with Tammy Lee Gardner, and I pray that you would send your holy angels to continue to minister to her and heal her.
Yeah.
Lord, I pray that you would draw her to yourself, Lord, and that you would show yourself to her, Lord, that she would understand and know you, Lord. I pray for all of our families and for all the people listening, Lord. I pray that you would speak to their heart, Lord. And Lord, I pray first and foremost for your truth to go out. Help us to share what you'd want us to share. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Did you
Well,
want
we
to add
thank
anything to that, Phoenix?
I'm sorry.
Add anything to that?
I was asking if you wanted to add anything to the prayer, but you just froze. Are you
Well,
okay?
we want to thank everybody in the chat room tonight that joined us and everybody that listens to the replay and stuff. Always join us here on Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time for Life Unfiltered. One of the best shows right now on the Bill of Rights Network.
That's awesome.
I'll tell Phoenix after the show and stuff. But
I want to thank
everybody
you
have
for
a good
having me
evening,
on.
and we will see you next Friday night here on Life Unfiltered. Have a good evening,
Night,
everybody.
everyone.